Following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers. This is the TF Geek coming to you the review that is, well, it's a review of one of the most controversial Transformers figures to be released in the Transformers Kingdom line, but it is this guy, Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron Trilogy Voyager class Rhinox. And Rhinox, unfortunately, he's right up there with Trax in being regarded as one of the worst figures of the Transformers Kingdom line. This is due to the fact that Rhinox has very tight joints built into him, and when you transform him back and forth from robot mode to Rhino mode, particularly how his robot mode legs form the back half of his Rhino mode, even when you know where they go and how to move them around, and when you spin them around, and when you figured out how to do the transformation on your own, Rhinox is still a nightmare to transform, since the joints are super tight and the panel sections literally have a hairline of space to move around in. And some collectors have broken Rhinox trying to transform him. So yeah, I am not looking forward at all to transforming Rhinox. Even though I've been doing the transformations off camera, that's actually the most time-consuming part of my reviews is transforming the figures off camera. So, as you can tell by this copy of Rhinox, his box is particularly damaged, and I got him on sale from Amazon for a discount price. I think I only paid $25 for a Rhinox, and considering the average price tag of a Voyager class Transformer is between $30 to $35 right now, that was a good deal for me. So here's Rhinox inside his box. There's the artwork of his Rhino mode and his robot mode. On the top of the box, he's a Maximal. This side poster image for the Kingdom line, and then here on the back of the box, you've got your official product photos. You got Rhinox in his robot mode and his Rhino mode, and he transforms back and forth between both modes in 35 steps. Yep, so yes, without further delay, let's get Rhinox out of his box and take a close look at his robot mode. Alright, and so here is Rhinox out of his package and in robot mode, and I gotta say, some of the joints on Rhinox do look a little flimsy, the way some collectors have been saying that they are. The main problem with Rhinox is these panel sections here on the back of his lower legs. When you transform Rhinox from robot mode to Rhino mode, these panels have to rotate around, and they do so in a manner where they impact other parts, and it almost feels like you're going to break Rhinox when you transform him. So one thing that Rhinox's instructions have omitted is that you can actually rotate the lower jaw of the Rhino mode there on the back, so it looks slightly more accurate to Rhinox's animation model from the Beast Wars series. But all in all, in robot mode, Rhinox is somewhat of a impressive looking Maximal. The lower Rhino jaw that forms his robot mode chest, it's a fake lower jaw here on the Kingdom figure, but it is accurate to his animation model from the Beast Wars series. Anyways, I won't go too much into Rhinox's articulation because it's the same as the other Beast Wars Kingdom figures. But the only real minor gripe I have with Rhinox, apart from his bad transformation, is right here the tops of his shoulders are done in the same green plastic used on his robot mode torso, and it carries over into the Rhino mode. The tops of those shoulders. So there's two green squares when Rhinox is in his Rhino mode, and so as far as being a robot in disguise, it kind of deters from it. So for a quick size compare, Harrison, here is Kingdom Rhinox next to the Generations Thrilling 30 Rhinox that was released back in 2014, and a lot of Transformers fans and collectors have been saying that some of the features and gimmicks that the original Thrilling 30 Rhinox figure has, it still puts the Kingdom version of Rhinox to shame. One gimmick that this version of Rhinox has that this one does not is has these spring-loaded spinning gimmicks. So the Thrilling 30 version of Rhinox, his Gatling guns can actually rotate around and be actual Gatling guns like in the Beast Wars series, whereas these just are stationary pieces, so they look more like Looks more like Rhinox is holding a pair of buzzsaw versus what they actually are on the Generations version. A lot of Transformers fans had high hopes that the Kingdom version of Rhinox would be an improvement over the Thrilling 30 version, because the Thrilling 30 version of Rhinox, and my copy is no exception, the legs, the hip joints in particular, are very extremely loose on the Thrilling 30 version of Rhinox. And as a result, it's very hard to get him to stand this version of Rhinox to stand up properly in robot mode. The Kingdom version of Rhinox, he does stand up somewhat better in robot mode due to the fact that he has feet that are better proportioned compared to the robot mode feet on the Thrilling 30 version of Rhinox. But one feature that the Thrilling 30 version of Rhinox has beat over the Kingdom version is right here on the top of the head. It's kind of hard to tell since it's red paint on a gold background, but if you look right there on the top of Rhinox's forehead, on the Thrilling 30 version of Rhinox, he has two tiny maximal symbols on his forehead, which is what Rhinox has in both the Beast Wars and in the War for Cybertron Trilogy Kingdom animated series that was released on Netflix. And those tiny little maximal symbols on the forehead are not found on the Kingdom version of Rhinox. I'm sure that Toy Hacks is working on a sticker set that gives the maximal symbols on Rhinox's forehead or head. But yeah, as far as which version of Rhinox is the better version, it goes 50-50 comparing Kingdom Rhinox with the Generation Thrilling 30 version of Rhinox. I still prefer the Thrilling 30 version of Rhinox over the Kingdom version, since even though it is a floppy mess in robot mode, the Generations version of Rhinox at least doesn't, when you transform it, it doesn't feel like you're going to break the figure, and that's what everyone's been saying about the Kingdom version of Rhinox, which is why, unlike all the other Maximals of the Kingdom line, the Kingdom version of Rhinox does come off as being a worse figure than the previous version of Rhinox that was released. So I will get this guy transformed off camera. We will take a look at him in Rhino mode. I'm going to say, maybe this right off the bat, I apologize. I'm not going to transform the Thrilling 30 version of Rhinox, so I apologize. I won't be doing a comparison of the two Rhino modes because it's very late at night and I want to make sure I get a decent night's sleep. So I will do a size comparison with some other Transformers figures in the Kingdom line. If you're wondering why I keep looking off to the side of the camera, I'm trying to get uh, my Thrilling 30 Rhinox figure to stand up properly off camera. So yes, let's get to the transformation. I will try not to be distracted any further, and we will take a close look at Kingdom Rhinox in Rhino mode. Alright, and so here's Kingdom Rhinox transformed into his Rhino mode, and I agree with what everyone is saying about Hang, who's already done video reviews of Rhinox. It is a literal nightmare to try and transform him from robot mode to Rhino mode. I'm not going to reverse the transformation just now because it literally feels like you could break Rhinox, even when you know what you're doing and you know which panel sections go where, even trying to get everything when you have everything lined up properly. It really does feel, like Rhinox could break. Again, it feels like you're putting a lot of stress on Rhinox. Now, one thing that's involved with the light transformation is that these panels here that form the upper half of Rhinox's legs in the back. When you transform Rhinox from robot mode to Rhino mode, you have to rotate the piece around, and these corners, the corner of this panel right here, this entire piece hits that as you're rotating it, and so you literally have a hairline of space to get those panels to rotate past each other to get Rhinox transformed into his beast mode. So, despite the fact that it does have a fairly impressive looking robot mode, and the Rhino mode, again, I despise those green squares on top of his shoulders. It deters from Rhinox being a robot in disguise. Nice. But yes, it is less of a nightmare to transform the Thrilling 30 version of Rhinox than it is compared to transforming the Kingdom version of Rhinox. So, as far as which version of Rhinox I think is the better version, it's still the Thrilling 30 version of Rhinox. Rhinox now. With that said, one thing that the Kingdom version of Rhinox has over the generations Rhinox is the shape of the rhino horns. They're proportioned more like an actual rhino. Rhino's horns are on the Kingdom version, but the Thrilling 30 version of Rhinox, despite having very loose joints in the hips, the robot mode is better on this one compared to the Kingdom version. Rhino mode, it's all personal preference, I personally believe. But yeah, I agree with all the other reviews out there on Kingdom Rhinox. It is a nightmare to transform him properly, especially with these back panels hitting each other. Even when you know what you're doing, it feels like panels will either not line up properly or they might snap off, and they have snapped off on some collectors. So yeah, you literally transform Kingdom Rhinox at your own risk. So that is a major deterrent for Kingdom Rhinox. And again, one of his main gimmicks in Beast Mode is that he can open and close his jaw. So since I didn't transform the Thrilling 30 version of Rhinox, just for a quick size comparison with some other action figures from the Kingdom line, here is Rhinox next to Cheetor, and here he is next to Rat Trap. So yeah, he's a pretty bulky Rhino compared to the other Beast Wars characters, as a Rhino should, since Rhinos are all muscle. But yes, that's pretty much it. So do I recommend getting Kingdom Rhinox and adding him to your collection? Here's the thing. I only recommend getting Kingdom Rhinox if you do not have the Thrilling 30 version of Rhinox. If you have this version of Rhinox, then the Kingdom version of Rhinox is a potentially easy pass. You don't really have to go out and buy Kingdom Rhinox. You have the Thrilling 30 version. The main reason I got Kingdom Rhinox was to go completist on the Kingdom line, and just to see if maybe perhaps collectors are over exaggerating when they said how terrifying it is to transform Rhinox. But unfortunately, I can say after transforming him for myself, even on just this one time, you literally put yourself at risk of breaking Rhinox every time you transform him. So, yeah, that is a major deterrent from getting this figure. So, I only recommend getting Kingdom Rhinox if you absolutely want to, or if you missed out on the Thrilling 30 version of Rhinox and you want to have an action figure of him in your collection, then by all means get the Kingdom But yeah, unfortunately, unlike all the other Maximals in the Kingdom line, I know Rhinox is unfortunately an easy pass because there are other Transformers figures in the Kingdom line that are less of a nightmare to transform than Rhinox is. Thank you guys all so much. This has been the TFN Geek. And again, since today is December 25th, I will end the video by saying Merry Christmas to everybody. And until next time, you guys, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone. Ta-da.